You're about to learn 7 essential pickleball tips to take your game to the advanced level right now.
Special thanks to Halua Racket and Paddle for letting us use their facility.
Go ahead and subscribe to our channel right now to improve your game every week, and let's do this.
The first tip to master is the seesaw effect. The seesaw describes the relationship between your paddle and your opponent's paddle at the kitchen line. Every time you see your opponent's paddle go up in the air, your paddle should respond by going down towards the court. The reason for this is that your opponent's paddle position gives away information about their next shot. For example, when a ball is lofted up to your opponent at the kitchen line, their paddle raises to indicate an incoming smash. In this case, you should immediately lower your body and paddle towards the ground to prepare. When that smash comes at your feet, you'll already be in the perfect position to make a defensive reset or drop.
The effect also works the other way. In a dink rally, if your opponent's paddle gets too low, you can raise yours upward to prepare for an attack. This works since a low paddle can only hit the ball upwards to clear the net. When your opponent's paddle drops, their only option is to lift the ball into the air, which can present an opportunity to attack. Following these guidelines will ensure your paddle is always in the right spot to act fast. The seesaw effect also applies to court positioning. When you are at the baseline, your paddle should be on or near the ground. As you approach the kitchen, your paddle location should get higher. When you are at the kitchen, your paddle should be up around your chest. If you follow this principle, any ball hit above your paddle will be out. Like this example from the baseline, this example from midcourt, and this example from the kitchen. The seesaw effect is crucial to high-level play, so implement this strategy immediately. Now let's move on to tip number 2.
Becoming an advanced pickleball player means executing advanced shots. The first shot to master is the ATP.
Around the post.
This shot can create an unexpected advantage when you know what to look for. During a dink rally, strong players will gradually push you back and force tighter and tighter angles. Eventually, they're likely to hit a dink too far out wide, which opens up an opportunity. Once the ball angle exceeds the post of the net, go for an ATP. But to execute this shot, keep a couple of tips in mind. First, delay until the last possible moment to strike the ball. The longer time the ball has to carry around the post, the easier your angle will be to place it back on the court. Second, look for dinks that land shallow in the kitchen, close to the net, rather than deep at the kitchen line. When a ball bounces close to the net, the available ATP angle is much larger than when a ball bounces further back.
Next, aim low with minimal arc on the ball. If you aim too high, you allow the opponent to defend the ATP with ease, so take advantage of the fact that there's no net in your way and keep your shot down. Finally, recover quickly. An ATP drags you off the court and it's not a guaranteed winner. Strong opponents can get it back, so don't sit there and watch your amazing shot. Get back on the court and be ready to keep rallying. Another great shot to master is the Ernie. An Ernie is when you take a volley early and your feet land outside of the kitchen. They don't have to be flashy jumps to be effective. They can be executed with a well-timed step outside of the kitchen if you know what to look for. The best time to go for an Ernie is during a dink rally, where you are adding offensive pressure. As you push your opponent backward with deeper dinks, aim down the line and wait until they are forced to take a step back and turn their hips to hit their dink. When this occurs, your opponent's safest shot is to go back down the line with a lofty dink.
Take advantage by stepping over to the outside of the kitchen and smashing the volley early. There are several ways to execute the footwork, but 5-0s tend to jump off their backhand foot and land close to the kitchen with their forehand foot. Keep in mind that the ball must still cross the plane of the net before you're allowed to make contact. Also, be aware of your feet and avoid stepping into the kitchen and giving away the point. The next tip is about starting every point with an advantage. Lower level players tend to serve and return repetitively without intention. While consistency is key, moving up to the advanced level requires strategy. Don't just serve the ball to the same place every time. Find a weak spot instead. As we've mentioned before in other videos, the most common weak spot to exploit is a backhand. Most players struggle to hit with the same force and depth from a backhand as opposed to a forehand, so take advantage of that fact. Try serving to your opponent's backhand to test the waters. If the returns are coming back higher and slower, then you found the best target to aim for.
This also works just as effectively on returns. When receiving a serve, return it to an opponent's backhand and watch the result. You'll likely notice that their third shot drop or drive is less consistent and more prone to pop-ups. When that's the case, aim there every time. If backhands aren't working, there are plenty more options to test out. Test your opponent's forehand, handling a backspin, speed to reach short angles, response to lobs, or really anything that can reveal a flaw in their game.
If you've been playing pickleball for a while, then you've probably heard this golden rule. Make contact in the center of your paddle. And while this still holds true, upping your game will require you to expand your contact point capabilities. At an advanced level, the ball is not going to be hit at you in a way that makes center contact always possible. Opponents will aim outside of your comfort zone, forcing you to stretch or get jammed. This means you've got to adapt to the awkward motions. The first important contact point to master is the top of your paddle for a stretch. When you're in a firefight at the kitchen, stretches allow you to keep the ball in play even at the edge of your reach.
To practice this, have a partner start a hands battle with your feet firmly planted. As the rally progresses, your partner should aim occasional shots at the edge of your reach. forcing you to make contact at the top of your paddle. Worry less about making the perfect touch and more about getting the ball back and low to reset the point. With repetition, you'll be able to reach tougher and tougher shots. The next position to master is a jam. This happens when an opponent hits a shot at your body, which forces you to make an uncomfortable, compact swing. Instead of worrying about making center contact, focus on using the bottom of your paddle to get back in the point. To practice this one, use the same drill as before, with your feet planted and a partner starting a hands rally. This time, have them mix in shots at your body, resulting in a jam. Defend these by making low paddle contact and resetting the point. Once you've got this down, you can combine both drills into one to have a partner vary their aim at the edge of your reach and at your body. You'll stay in every hands battle much longer when you get this down.
The next and one of the most essential tips is to develop roll shots at the kitchen line. Rolling means hitting low to high underneath the pickleball, which adds topspin. The reason this specific shot is important is because it's often your only option when you want to attack a well-placed drop. The roll shot allows you to take the ball out of the air and keep it in the court even when your paddle is below the top of the net. The topspin brings the ball back down into the court, which means you can push your opponents back even when they are dropping their shots well. There's two ways to hit a roll, and up first is the forehand. A forehand roll is a similar motion to a forehand topspin drive, but the swing is more compact and the low to high action is more pronounced. The more spin you can add, the more likely the ball will land back in the court.
Make sure to get underneath the ball and try finishing your swing higher and to the right rather than across your body. The next one to master is the backhand roll. This one proves especially challenging since the stroke is more unique to pickleball and can feel awkward. The best way to backhand roll is to start low with your paddle tip facing downward before making contact. It can help to add a wrist flick to speed up the wiping motion and keep the swing small. This should add considerable topspin to the ball and loop it over the net. Mastering the roll adds versatility and power to your game, allowing for more aggressive play at the net. This next tip separates 4-0s from 5-0s.
When serving, many drops won't let you get to the kitchen on the first try at an advanced level. Players will utilize the roll shot we learned earlier that will push you back and keep you on the defensive. Instead of just sitting back at the baseline and waiting for the perfect opportunity to rush in, you've got to work your way up to the net. This is where the midcourt comes into play. When opponents have an opportunity to attack, you can still gain ground by getting your paddle extra low and defending the ball. Utilize resets and drops to advance gradually through the midcourt, focusing on making each shot harder to attack. It may take 2 shots to get to the kitchen, or it may take 10. Each point is different, and the key is to stay patient rather than rushing too early. The midcourt can also be used after you've already made it to the kitchen. During a dink rally or hands battle, you might hit the ball too high, which means a smash is incoming. Instead of staying still and attempting to block the shot up close, you can retreat to the midcourt.
The more space there is between the ball and your paddle, the more time you have to reset the point. So once you loft the ball up, quickly take a couple of steps back and get your paddle low to the ground. Now you've got more precious time to read the shot and make a block. Then work your way back up to the kitchen one more time. And now let's talk about the other side of that coin for the final tip. Make your putaways. When given the opportunity to end the point, you have to take advantage. There's a couple of key ways to ensure your attacks don't come back over the net. The first is simply to just aim at your opponent's feet. By aiming at the bottom of your opponent's body, you constrict their movement, which results in a jam. Even if an opponent is using the seesaw rule perfectly, hitting a reset from your feet is one of the hardest shots in pickleball. Always aim here first. The next way to ensure a winner is just to add pace. Simply put, a faster ball gives your opponents less time to react. To add pace, accelerate your swing and focus on center contact. There's a misconception that a bigger swing means more power, but this doesn't have to be the case. Keeping your swing explosive but compact will save you time on the backswing and still generate power. But remember that adding pace generally reduces your margin of error, so if you find yourself missing often, tone it back and find a better balance of power to precision.
The final way to put away a ball is by creating a tighter angle. When given a high ball, the angles you can create expand drastically over a typical volley, since the net clearance is lower. A sharp angle is often more effective than simply adding power. Find an open area of the court and utilize touch to put the ball away effectively. Now you've mastered the 7 essential tips to level up your game, and YouTube thinks you're going to need this video if you want to advance even further.
If you want even more content, subscribe to our newsletter where we level up your inbox every week.